Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Monday, the 4th of March. We don't count human casualties, says Indian Air Force on Pakistan airstrikes. Protest held in New York against Pakistan for sponsoring cross-border terrorism. And devotees in India and Nepal celebrate Hindu festival Maha Shivratri. And now for all the details. Chief of Indian Air Force on Monday said the Air Force is not in a position to provide clarity on casualties, but their warplanes hit their intended target during airstrikes on terror camps inside Pakistan. India on February 26th carried out the airstrikes targeting a major training camp of Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terror group that claimed the deadly Pulwama attack which killed at least 40 Indian security personnel.
Indian Air Force or IAF had hit the target and the casualties had not been counted in the airstrikes on terror camps inside Pakistan, Air Chief Marshal Virender Singh Dhanoa said on Monday. While addressing a news conference in southern Coimbatore city, Dhanoa said he is not in a position to clarify the number of human casualties in the airstrikes as it depends on the number of people present inside the selected target. The comments assume significance after doubts were raised there were any casualties in the attack that stoked tensions between the two countries.
The target has been clearly amplified by the Foreign Secretary in his statement. Yeah. And of course, if he planned to hit the target, we hit the target. Otherwise, why would he have responded? ANI, please. If he had dropped bombs in the jungle, there's no need for him to respond.
Indian warplanes carried out the airstrikes on February 26 on terror camps inside Pakistan in response to a suicide bombing in its northern Jammu and Kashmir province, which killed at least 40 paramilitary police personnel. The airstrikes targeted a major training camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terror group that claimed responsibility for the deadly suicide attack. A day after the airstrikes, both India and Pakistan claimed to down each other's jets, during which an Indian pilot was also captured by Pakistani army. After spending more than 50 hours in custody of the Pakistan army, the fighter pilot wing commander Abhinandan was released on March 1st amid efforts by global powers to prevent another war between the arch-enemies.
Authorities in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province have been constructing more than 14,000 community bunkers to protect the locals from Pakistan shelling from across the border. There has been a spate of ceasefire violations by Pakistan along the border in the province.
With a spike in incidents of cross-border firing along the frontier by Pakistan and India's northern Jammu and Kashmir, the authorities have speeded up the construction of community bunkers in different districts of the province close to the line of control. More than 14,000 bunkers are being constructed for families living along its border with Pakistan to keep them safe near their homes. New shelters are also being built in schools for safety of school children. The Pakistani troops also reportedly continued ceasefire violations along the de facto border in Akhnur sector of the province in the wee hours of Monday.
जब भी फायरिंग स्टार्ट होती है तो हमारा इधर आर्मी वाले सारन बजा देते हैं तो सारे के सारे लोग आके मोर्चे में बैठ जाते हैं चाहे 2 घंटे के बाद फायरिंग शुरू हो चाहे 2 घंटे के बाद भी फायरिंग स्टार्ट रहे ना तो कम से कम 4-4, 6-6 घंटे हम इसी मोर्चे के बीच में पूरा मोहल्ला मेरा यहीं बैठता है।
ये जो स्कूलों में मोर्चे बने बहुत अच्छे बने कि बच्चों की बहुत ही सेफ्टी है। हमारे लोगों के लिए भी मोर्चे ऐसे सेक्शन किए जाएं और बनाए जाएं, जल्द से जल्द बनाए जाएं।
The troops of arch rivals India and Pakistan intermittently exchanged fire across the border despite an agreement in 2003 that a ceasefire should be observed along the working boundary. Both New Delhi and Islamabad blame each other for resorting to unprovoked firings.
Moving on, a massive protest was held on Sunday outside the UN building in New York against Pakistan for sponsoring cross-border terrorism in India and Afghanistan. The protesters demanded action against Pakistan for the acts of terror groups based on its soil, which they blamed are nurtured, protected and funded by the Pakistani establishment.
People belonging to different nationalities held a protest outside the UN building in New York on Sunday against Pakistan for sponsoring cross-border terrorism in India and Afghanistan. The protesters condemned the recent terror attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir claimed by Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group, which killed at least 40 security personnel. They demanded that the UN should hold Islamabad accountable for the acts of Pakistan-based terror groups, which they blamed are nurtured, protected and funded by the Pakistani establishment.
We are protesting against Pakistan's state-sponsored terrorism. So whatever the terrorist attacks happening across the world, they have the common root, that is Pakistan. So there are so many terrorist networks that are operating from the Pakistan soil, whether it is Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Taliban. So all these terrorist networks needs to be stopped immediately. Pakistan should stop immediately the terrorist exports factory, whichever it has created.
The protesters also urged the UN and the international community to sanction leadership of Pakistan's army and intelligence agencies and declare Pakistan a global terrorist state. A memorandum was also submitted to the Office of UN Secretary General in this regard.
In news from Afghanistan, 2 days after a deadly Taliban attack on a military base in Afghanistan's Helmand province, critics on Sunday raised questions on intelligence failure. Analysts said that Afghan Defense Ministry has not yet provided any details about the nature of the attack and raised questions that how the gunmen managed to enter the highly protected facility.
2 days after a group of more than 20 Taliban fighters launched a coordinated attack on Sharab Air Base in Afghanistan's Helmand province, military affairs analysts raised questions on intelligence failure by relevant departments. The analysts on Sunday said the Ministry of Defense has not provided any details about the nature of the attack and that how the gunmen managed to enter the facility. An Afghan army officer, Abdul Manan, who once served at the base, said it is almost impossible for anyone to enter the camp without having support from elements inside the compound.
شاوخوا کې ملي لګیدل دي او جهال دی الته کمانډو ده الته تعلیمي مرکز ته الته اردو مجهز است بیا د ګرنیزون کې ته د شاوخوا ټوله په ساحه کې پیره کوي غزمه کوي دې ته زموږ خپل سر نخلا
نحوی که این حمله صورت گرفته جز از اینکه کسی اینا را برده باشه به داخل راه باز شده باشه برشان دیگه چیزی را آدم پیش بینی کرده نمیتونه به دلیل از اینکه خب اگر اینا در نتیجه برخورد داخل میشدن خب بالاخره موانع سر راه ازیا بود برخورد میشد و نمیتونستن داخل شوند به این شکل.
The attack claimed by Taliban started on Friday and continued for 16 hours as some of the attackers were hidden inside the military base. The attack left at least 50 dead, including security force members and the militants.
Modern news from Afghanistan. Afghan women activists on Sunday announced their support to the peace talks in Doha, but said the achievements in women's rights, freedom of press and other gains should not be ignored in the process. They stressed freedom of women should not be sacrificed in peace negotiations with Taliban.
A group of women activists and residents of Afghanistan's Jowzjan province on Sunday announced their support to the ongoing peace talks in Doha, but said the recent achievements in women's rights, freedom of press and other gains should not be ignored in the process. While attending a gathering, they also called on the Afghan government to share the developments of peace talks with the people. The women during the ceremony said they want peace, but their freedom should not be sacrificed for it. They said they want an immediate end to the war as it has taken thousands of lives in the country over the past few years. A traditional Grand Assembly known as Loya Zirga is scheduled to be held from March 17 in Kabul to build consensus among competing interest groups on Afghan peace process. Meanwhile, details are still awaited of the fifth round of marathon peace talks held between the US and the Taliban in Doha over the past week.
The Samjhauta Express train service between India and Pakistan resumed its operations from New Delhi on Sunday night. The train service was suspended on 28th of February amid rising tensions between the two countries. The announcement to resume operations came after Pakistan on Friday released an Indian Air Force pilot arrested after an aerial dogfight. The Samjhauta Express train service began in July 1976 under the Shimla Agreement that settled the 1971 war between the two neighbours. The number of passengers had fallen drastically after relations soured following the terror attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir of February 14th, which was claimed by a Pakistan-based terror group. A 4-day-long carnival has been organised in India's southwestern Panaji city, in which tourists from across the world are taking part. The event has been witnessing a blend of food, music, fun and dance.
A 4-day-long carnival has been organised in beach resort city of Panaji, in which tourists hailing from across India and abroad are participating to catch a glimpse of the culture and traditions of India's southwestern Goa province. Young and old were seen enjoying themselves to the pulsating beats of local Goan bands as the carnival began on Saturday. The visitors enjoyed the blend of food, music and dance on the first day of the event. The tableaus in the parade offered a mix of modern and traditional arts that left the visitors spellbound.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been such a great experience. You feel very welcomed. It's a great party vibe. And very colourful. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
We are really enjoying, and this is the first time that I'm here, and I would say it's really awesome. I'm really loved to be here.
Goa offers the subcontinent's only carnival owing to the strong influence of Portuguese rule in the province. The floats in the parade depicted the cultural heritage of Goa and the influence of Portuguese culture, as it was a colony of Portugal for over 2 centuries when India annexed the southwestern province in 1961.
The world's largest religious gathering, the Kumbh Fair, came to an end on Monday, with devotees taking holy dip in the river Ganges to seek salvation from the cycle of life and death. The last day of Kumbh Fair coincided with Maha Shivratri, the Hindu festival that marks the marriage of Lord Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction.
The largest religious gathering on earth, the Kumbh Fair, concluded on Monday in India's Prayagraj city, with devotees celebrating the Hindu festival Maha Shivratri, that marks the marriage of Lord Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction. Thousands of devout Hindus took holy dips in river Ganges on the occasion and offered prayers for the well-being of their loved ones. During the 8-week-long Kumbh festival, millions of people, including foreign visitors, flocked to the city to experience the rich culture and traditions of India.
आज कुंभ की लास्ट शाही स्नान है और शंकर जी की महाशिवरात्रि है, इसलिए हम लोग ने गंगा जी में डुबकी लगाए और शिवलिंग बनाकर शंकर जी और पार्वती जी की पूजा किए।
तो भगवान शंकर का आज का दिन विवाह हुआ था, इसलिए यहाँ शिवलिंग बना के पार्थिव लिंग की पूजा की जाती है, इसलिए लोग यहाँ पूजा करते हैं और कुंभ स्नान का अर्धकुंभ स्नान का महत्व चल ही रहा है।
Meanwhile, thousands of devotees thronged the famous Pashupatinath temple in Nepal to worship Lord Shiva on the occasion of Maha Shivratri. Many Hindu ascetics were also seen worshipping Lord Shiva in different ways to mark the festival. Indian ambassador to Nepal Manjeev Singh Puri also paid obeisance at the temple on the occasion. Monday is regarded as the day of Lord Shiva among Hindus, and this year the Maha Shivratri also came on the first day of the week, making it even more auspicious for the devotees.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. We don't count human casualties, says Indian Air Force on Pakistan airstrikes. Protest held in New York against Pakistan for sponsoring cross-border terrorism. And devotees in India, Nepal celebrate Hindu festival Maha Shivratri. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.